Hey, it's Bruce. I think it's like August 11th, 2018. It's getting close to midday here in Anson County, Brown Creek area, and it's a very humid day. If you look at my body, you'll see that when I sweat, the water, the sweat doesn't evaporate. It just sort of sticks to you. Um, we're lucky enough to be somewhat in the shade today, and what we're doing is we're digging post holes manually. Um, it'd be really good if we actually had some equipment, but unfortunately, this part of the farm is in an area where you can't really get a tractor or equipment into because it's really they get bogged down in the mud. So I'm having to dig holes today by hand, and I thought I'd make a video to show sort of the art of digging a hole with old-fashioned post hole diggers. And if you look at this post in the ground here, and the next couple, those were dug by hand. You can dig a hole about 3 feet deep in this pretty hard soil. It's like packed clay. Luckily, I haven't hit too many rocks. Hit a few, but rocks and tree roots are really a killer when you're trying to dig a hole. So let's look at this. Sort of the art of digging a post hole. You notice we got a string pulled. The string is pulled between the two endpoints where we're going to stretch our wire ultimately. And we really ideally want the posts to be lined up, flush with one another along that wire. But these posts that we're using are actually sections of pine trees that have been pressure treated, and they're all different diameters. So when you dig your hole, you have to take that into account. And when you put the post in the ground, you have to put it in the ground so that one side of your post or one edge lines up with the others. So you're not actually digging holes in exactly the same linear spot. So there's sort of an art to it. And when I'm doing it manually, what I like to do is have the string stretched as a reference, and I look down as every now and then I push the string aside with my thigh when I start digging, and then I check how I'm doing later. So come on over here, Bruce, and let's watch the post hole digger in action. It's actually pretty simple. You have to thrust this thing into the ground and then spread it apart up here. And when you do that, the scissor action on the joints down there, I guess you could call them the fingers, close, and you get a scoop of soil if you're lucky. And that is sort of one scoop. I got about ½ an inch deep, but I'm going to have to make the hole bigger. So I'll chip away at the edges of that to widen the hole. And what I do is just thrust an edge in there and pivot it to break that soil loose. And then you got to scoop it out of the hole. Now you'll notice that when I spread these apart, look how wide it is up here. So as you go deeper in the hole, eventually you'll hit the edge of the hole and you won't be able to open this. And that sort of means the diameter of your hole will limit how deep you can go. So if you need to go deeper, you by necessity have to make a larger diameter hole, which is more digging. That's part of the art of it. It's getting the depth that you want with the minimum necessary diameter of hole that fits your post and lines up with your string and potentially takes into account the pole isn't always straight, the post isn't always straight. You might hit roots, you might hit rocks, and as has happened to me a few times, you might hit a water line. But luckily in this rural area there are no water lines. Now I'm already exerting myself quite a bit. It's mostly a tricep and back workout. A little bit of bicep when you lift up. But this particular way of digging a hole is both aerobic and sort of anaerobic at the same time. It's a very strenuous way to dig if you are trying to move fast. Because of the heat and the fact in my body, the sweat isn't evaporating. My core temperature goes up pretty high when I'm doing this, and I'll eventually have to take a break, rehydrate. can also start to lose a lot of minerals, salt out of your body from the sweat, and that can lead to something called heat stroke, which actually happened to me out here a while back. That's a really bad feeling. You don't want to have heat stroke on a hot day in Anson County when it's humid by yourself. I've done that twice now in my life, and it slips up on you. The telltale signs of it are, though, you sort of stop sweating and you don't realize it. And counterintuitively, you start getting chills, so you can feel cold. I know that sounds odd, but your sense of hot and cold internally gets sort of out of whack. Then you can have a feeling of nausea creep up on you. You might even think you have food poisoning. Another problem with working in a remote area like this during the summer, you look up, there's a tree canopy around us, and there's a lot of ticks that will be up in those trees, and they sense our body heat and they'll fall down on us, or they might be on the ground, crawl up your leg. And those ticks carry disease, which is common in this part, called Rocky Mountain Spotted Tick Fever. This is a bacteria that can get in your bloodstream.
And they don't even have to bite you.
According to somebody I talked to recently, that's correct. You don't actually have to be bitten by a tick to catch that. If you have cuts, which I have quite a few on my hands for some of this work. But if you notice yourself having a fever and you've been staying hydrated and you feel sick, but you're not sneezing, you might want to get checked. Could be one of those bloodborne bacteria you got from a tick. Now, if you look at my hole, it's about 8 inches deep, ultimately going for about 3 feet. So I've got quite a ways to go. The soil, luckily I'm not hitting rock, but this soil feels like concrete. It's densely packed clay. That's the result of water that washes through this area when it rains, and we're sort of in the basin of a runoff area. If this was wet, it'd be even harder, because it'd be like digging in wet clay. At least it's somewhat dry today, and I can chip away at the edges of the hole and sort of scrape it off. It's a lot like digging in chalk. If I had to think of a material, you can crack it up a little bit. It's like a very solid substrate. But as I've been talking, you notice I'm not completely out of breath, or I wouldn't be able to talk. And I'm getting hot. I'm sweating so much now that the sweat's just pouring off my body. It's soaking into my pants, which I don't want to be out here in shorts because of the insects that'll bite you. There's chiggers all over the place, or we call them red bugs. I go home covered in those bites pretty much every day now because they're just all over the place and there's really no way to beat them. So just treat the bites. But again, one thing you will notice is the hole's getting deeper. It does work. It does take time. It does require patience and persistence and strength. My dad was out here, he's about 20 years older than me now, 67 or so, and he generally tries to avoid this kind of digging now, if he can, because he's had so many injuries on the farm over the years, and he's still strong as an ox. It's just, if you dig post holes like this all day, you'll know it. You'll feel that in your bones and your muscles. And I've been doing this now most of the summer. I started with a small backyard fence up in Raleigh, where I was only digging about 2.5 foot holes in relatively soft field soil. I did that for a variety of reasons, but the side effect is that it got me in a little bit better shape to be doing this. Now I've worked my way up where I can do this about 8 8 hours a day now if I pace myself and take breaks. And I can do that almost every day. And it just goes to show you that even as I'm nearing 50 years old, I just turned 47 back in May. You know, your body, human body's miraculous if you have high expectations of it and you eat enough calories and you actually do the work. You'd be surprised what you can do when you put your mind to it. But I will say this, it's not easy. And that's why you don't see a lot of people doing this. A lot of people try to use machines for this. They rent augers, they rent backhoes, they get attachments for tractors. But there are times when there's no escaping that you have to do something the old-fashioned way. Now imagine I didn't have this tool and I had to dig this hole with some kind of shovel or whatnot. It'd be really difficult because I'd have to dig the hole a heck of a lot wider to get this depth. Now, if you look down in that hole, Bruce, you can start to see that since I've started talking, I've been chipping away. I got really lucky. Haven't hit any rocks, and I've hit no tree roots. Had I done that, we'd be getting out some other tools to bust through the rocks and try to cut through the tree roots. Now, as I get deeper into this soil, I noticed that it seems like it's got a little more moisture content. That's to be expected. And that actually makes it a little easier to dig. Although the soil's heavier, it's easier to get out of the hole. I don't have to chip it out. But now I'm really moving fast. Almost got this hole to 3 feet deep. If you look on my tool, this is sort of my depth gauge. When I get to that depth, I'm deep enough. And I'm there. So I've got this hole deep enough now. And I'm gonna check my string. If you put the camera over here and point straight down over the string, you'll see like that. Now, straight down, I got the string's edge lined up with the edge of the hole. Now, if you'll hold that, I'm gonna put the post in there. Bruce was kind enough to bring me this post. These weigh about 200 pounds a piece when they're wet. Sometimes you get lucky and they'll be dry, but these are relatively green, a little hit on the heavy side. And I try to put the big end in the hole, and it's a little tricky to tell sometimes. I think the big end's down here. All right, let's put that end in the hole. Now you see how the post isn't really uniform? Look at it. This post is narrow there, narrow there. It's got a few waves and curves. This is just a natural part of a tree growing. They don't grow perfectly straight. Drop that in the hole. All right, got a good height here. I'm gonna have 48 inches of net wire and a piece of barbed wire up here. Now, if you look here, I wanna have the post straight up and down, aligned to the edge of that string. Looks like I'm close. Got my hole where I want it. Let's wiggle the post around a little bit till I'm happy with the location. And I like that. And the next thing I'll do, I probably won't show this, is we'll just pour that bag of concrete into this hole, tamp it down with a stick, and pour some water on it. Call it good. And that's the art and potentially the science of digging a hole to put a post in. Y'all have a good day.